Welcome, friends. This is Patty Paulsen at Sunburst Sanctuary, and I am so grateful and happy to have this opportunity to share this time together with you. And our topic today of cultivating willpower and dynamic willpower brings to mind Parmahansa Yogananada going out into his lectures, and he would always say to the people, "How are you feeling?" And their response was, "We are awake and ready." And that's moving power. That's moving the energy that we're all blessed with of our divine willpower. It's the power that motivates us to complete not the easy tasks that you can just do automatic, but those difficult tasks that are important in our life, that are the ones that we know we are to complete, those long-term goals. And it's motivated with the power and the discipline of holding off on just the instant gratifying pleasures of life and just moving our attention to really focus on completing the challenging, the more difficult goals that you want to complete successfully. And when you think of willpower, you may think of like some discipline inside of you and rebel against it. But willpower is truly your friend. You can embrace this amazing gift of life, this life that has the power of sustaining this whole creation. It's the power that we've been bestowed with and blessed with, this free will. It's our friend. It's trying to encourage and push us to the fulfillment of our life here. And its reward is the joy and the peace and the success of accomplishing our goals. There was a saying that I really like by Margaret Mead. It's never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. That was using the power, the group power, the dynamic group power of a small group of people and the power that's in there to make the changes we want to see in the world. And we are seeing that taking effect today, that people are coming out and having the power to speak, the power to do what's right, to help move this world in the right direction. And that brings us great inner peace and joy and a reward. In Parmahansa Yogananada's book, Man's Eternal Quest, he has a chapter on the stages of developing willpower. And its essence is to not only allow you to be successful in your life, but also a successful way to find the path to awakening into the higher realms of your inner nature of self-realization. And his first stage of these stages was called physiological will. And this is the will of survival. And he states it as the first breath we take, that willpower of sustaining being alive in this body. And we see it in the needs of all living creatures. That survival instinct to stay alive and have its basic needs met. So it doesn't require much thinking. It's more of the use of the sensory energies that we have of sensing our needs and the fulfillment of those needs. And the next stage was the stage of habit-bound will or mechanical will. And you can see this in when, even as children are being instructed by their guardians or parents, what good habits to take on in their life. And it's a will that's being established by habits. And some habits are good, and some habits may not be that good for that person, but it's more of a habit-bound will. And this habit-bound will, once out of the environment of the parents or guardians as you're growing up, you'll find that you have this will that now has also bringing up possible actions in you that are going to move this will into action. Most of the actions of habit-bound will are automatic. They don't really require much thinking or reason. And we do this a lot, just driving a car. Sometimes you don't even have to think of where you're going. You just know how to get there without really using your will. So habit-bound will, without wisdom or using conscious will, sometimes can be called blind will. And the next step of developing the stages of willpower is the thinking will. And in the thinking will, it's now the magic begins, because you're beginning to become mindful of your actions and your thoughts, and that you have choice to make. And at this point, the thinking will can be very powerful. And if it's used just with the will of your sensory, emotional power of thought, it can maybe be a little harmful by not really listening inwardly, just being, if it's not my way, no other way but my way, you know? And, but using this thinking will can also move us into what Yogananda calls dynamic willpower. And that's really what we're embracing today. And dynamic will is using your conscious thought, your thinking will, and applying wisdom. And we build this up by beginning to reason and listen inwardly. Is this the best choice to make that I am doing? Is this the best way to go? And this is a powerful stage of willpower. And it's with this willpower that we will attain not only success in our lives of reaching those goals, but it will also lead us into the ability to truly deepen our meditation practice. Really go deep within requires this power of will. And in dynamic willpower, we're also embracing a good intent. Not just a selfish desire, but a higher noble intent to move that thought into fruition with the wisdom that comes from our soul. And this wonderful gift, this power, is in us all. We all have this amazing gift. But we may ask ourselves, how can we train it? How do you train your will to be more dynamic? How do we increase our willpower? One way is by starting with small projects that you know you can accomplish. Like even making your bed in the morning when you get up. Or brushing your teeth every morning. Small, healthy habits that you can complete. And you reward yourself that you've completed that project. You feel the satisfaction. And then you move on to more major projects, bigger goals. And you keep moving it until you find that you complete it. And this is the big part with willpower, because it is so easy to procrastinate when we move into difficulties in our lives, which we all know. It's a time when we put really the important things in our lives on the back burner and work more with the things that are maybe easier to accomplish, or go back to the things that are automatic in our lives that give us instant gratification. But when we know we have to accomplish the ones that we procrastinate on and know that have to be done, that's where we have to pull in our willpower and ask for that guidance and that help. Willpower is considered a muscle, and you have to exercise it, just like going to the gym and exercising your body and muscles. And it's the same with will. We have a choice to let it just ride the wave of life, or really work it to our benefit, work it to our goals. And that's powerful, and it's rewarding. And another big part of working with willpower is we know within us all that we have two parts of our brain, or two parts of our being. And one can be very critical of ourselves, constantly judging ourselves and criticizing and putting us down, saying, you can't do that. You're not good enough at that. Don't even try it. Forget it. I think we all hear these things, and it creates fear in us, and it creates guilt and shame, and it steals our power. It steals our willpower. It keeps us a prison in the lower centers of our consciousness. It imprisons us. And the free will we think we have, we don't have, because it's imprisoned in listening to the critic within, the lower self that wants to keep the power to itself. It doesn't want you to accomplish and pull in the higher self, the higher listening of wisdom, guided will, divine will moving through you. It wants to keep you a prison, and will push you down and make you feel not worthy. Lose your confidence. This is time now to push that aside. The world needs us now to move forward with the power of our God-given will. And this is the gift we have, to move into those areas of being uncomfortable if it's going toward the goal that you know you need to accomplish. Set aside those thoughts. Don't give them energy. and bring forth the shining light and power of who you are, and you will accomplish those goals. Because we don't have to listen to that dictator of the self-conscious realm of the ego that may hold us down from accomplishing the higher realms within us of the divine will working through us. And we may say, how do you accomplish this? Well, we realize we have this amazing temple of our body and this amazing mind. That the image of God, the soul within us, resides. And we need all these units working together. We need to take care of the body, to nourish it properly, so it has the energy to do its work, to get the rest we need, and to eat good foods. And in our time of recreation and free time, to use it toward inspiring ventures. Things that will awaken all the more the higher faculties of our consciousness. We have this choice to know when to hold back your speech if it's not necessary or kind or not true. And most important of all, to be compassionate to yourself, because it's not easy attaining the paths and the goals we walk toward. And to have compassion if we fall and make a fool of ourselves. Just pick ourselves up. Make sure we keep persevering. And we have within us all the gift of virtue to call on. They are our guides with us all the time, to call on the power of faith, to call on the power of being loyal to your soul call, to call on the power of patience that is so needed to accomplish the difficult tasks in front of us, to call on the power of perseverance, and to know we have the power of discipline, not to be something to be feel like we're afraid of that discipline, because it's the discipline that will lead our soul to freedom, to liberation, to the use of the power of our free will. And to be temperate, to know when to rest and when to move with this amazing power of will. Because it is the will that can shake and rattle the world and move it into higher realms of awareness and consciousness. It is trying to happen right now. Within ourselves, on the earth, and within all beings. So to really be able to cultivate divine willpower, it needs the body to work, the mind to work in unison, and with the heart of devotion is super important. The devotion. There's an image I love that's in the Bhagavad Gita. And I'm quite sure you've all seen this. It's the great warrior, Arjuna. And he's going out into the battlefield of life. And he's almost ready to give up because it's just too, challenges that he sees in front of him is too much. His his chariot is a metaphor of his body. And the horses that are around and all over, that are in front of him, riding the chariot, moving the chariot, are his senses. It's also of the lower kingdom, of the sensory world. And the reins of those horses being held, he offers them and brings them to who's riding in the chariot with them, is Krishna. It's the soul call. It's the higher self within us all, the Christ, the Krishna, the image of God within us all. You hold the reins of my mind that's controlling the sensory world as I go about my battle and do my work. And in many of these pictures, also in his chariot, is the image of a god called Hanuman. And Hanuman is the god of devotion, devotion, devotion. So he's carrying all these things into his life, to his great battles that he goes at and successfully fulfills. So this is an image of using the dynamic will of spirit. The dynamic will that we are blessed with. And to realize in our bodies, as we're going to now move into our quiet time of meditation, the seat of our will is directly inward from our temples, inward from the point right between the eyebrows, and down from the crown of our head. That seat in the frontal portion of our brain is the power, the seat of will power. It's the seat of concentration, attention, will. And this is what we bring with us into meditation. It's very much needed. And it's important, one more thing I do want to bring up, when I can say that the will moving to the higher realms where we're in control of the sensory world around us. It doesn't mean we don't enjoy the fruits of this divine, amazing miracle of life. But the difference is that the will of God moving through us, the divine will of spirit, not my will, but thy will come through me, and enjoy the fruits of this amazing miracle of life. That's the big difference. That you're giving the reins of your senses and of your life, not to the lowest self, where there's so much suffering, so many dead ends, because it's not finding its true fulfillment. But to give those reins of power to the higher self, and that takes discipline and willpower and surrender to allow the will of God to work through us and truly enjoy and create and inspire and find peace and solutions to the difficulties in this world, and find cooperation with others when we work with the divine will of spirit working through us. So we're going to take time right now to carry this inspiration with us into our quiet time of meditation, and to remember the power of will sitting right inward from the temples, inward from the point between your eyebrows and down from the crown of your head. And sit on that seat. Open your heart of devotion and allow the power of God to move through you. And yes, the mind will rattle and will not like to sit in meditation because the lowest self does not want to sit and find out who it truly is. But this is the work of the will, to allow those thoughts to come up, but not to give them a story or energy. Like clouds in the sky, let them move by and keep coming back to this point of being present here now and receive the gift of what dynamic will bring you. As we now comfortably prepare ourselves for meditation together, bring your attention to your breathing. Concentrate on the breath. Allow it to move from the lower centers of your body with the inhaling breath. Bring it all the way up to the higher centers, to the seat of will right within you, offering all you are to the higher power, to the supreme universal power of God. Pause a moment and draw that energy down from the crown all the way down through all the centers, through your body with the exhaling breath. Let us continue to do that together as we go into our silent time of meditation. as we come out of our meditation, I'd like to end by reading this paragraph in Norm Paulsen's book, Life, Love, God. I was to learn that everyday free will most people assume they have does not exist. Like puppets on a string, we can dance to the tune of forces unknown. The freedom we think we have in this world today isn't really freedom if it's all bound up in spiritual ignorance and desires of the false self. This mindset creates a karmic wheel that keeps turning, and to the ego-centered, self-conscious mind, it seems there is time for nothing else. But when our volition is guided daily by wisdom and applied to constructive actions, we begin to gain free will. Willpower then generates its greatest strength, and we can control our destiny. And in the words of Parmahansa Yogananada, with this continuous, calm, powerful use of the will, it will shake the forces of creation and bring a response from the infinite. This is the gem of success in whatever you want to accomplish in your willpower. A will that has been badly battered by difficulties becomes temporarily paralyzed. The resolute person who says, "My body may be broken, but my head of willpower remains unbowed," demonstrates the greatest expression of will. And with this, may we bow together the infinite presence of Spirit within and around us in this amazing gift of willpower that is upon us this day, to go forward and use this sacred gift with utmost gratitude, confidence, devotion, and wisdom. Namaste.
Even now I hear the river of the day, daughter of the sky, singing as she plays. Even now I see the beauty light across the sky, fingers of the sunrise opening my eyes, and my soul is reaching branches up into the sky to feed. My life is but an echo in the temple of eternity. My love is like a great wind that is pressed between the stones. You'll not know where I come from, neither know where I'll be going. Even now I hear the silence, earth around the sun, mother of us all, oh son, a billion brothers one. Even now I hear the singing, angels of the Lord, sailing swiftly through the sky, a mighty ship with oars. And my soul is reaching branches up into the sky to feed. pressed between the stones. You'll not know where I come from, neither know where I'll be going. Even now I see the beauty light across the sky, fingers of the sunrise opening my eye. Even now I hear the wisdom from his heart, my home. A billion voices singing, silence from the throne. And my soul is reaching branches up into the sky to feed. My life is but an echo in the temple of eternity. My love is like a great wind that is pressed between the stones.